Well, that's it. Ochame Kwame with his latest, and I know that this one with a tinge of traditional Ga songs, traditional Ga high life would also take you to the inside sections of Bukom and the rest of Jamestown, etc. Particularly, I love Akotolante. All residents of Akotolante watching me this morning, I say, Charlie Minganyefe. But in the meantime, let me say good morning to Sally Fukombat. You're the head of primary healthcare pharmacy, the Boku Presbyterian Hospital. And do enjoy your time as well. I have Inshira joining me this morning. Inshira, good morning to you. Okay, so Inshira will join me soon. So let me take a look at the Ghanaian Times. And no, let me look at the Daily Graphic. The front page of the Daily Graphic has a number of stories. I showed that to you earlier on board broadly. It says COVID-19 infection, state institutions shut down. In this story, we also looked at it right on Joy FM and the rest of the channel, also JoyNews as well, about how this is ravaging human resource, affecting efficiency across many of the institutions. Indeed, it's not only state enterprises. We do have private corporate institutions also affected. The graphic M&G Consult partner to coach JHS students. And we have down the GES investigate the death of KNUSC senior high school students and headmistress interdicted. Emmanuel Kwesi Debra, our lead correspondent on that one, had been updating us about 48 hours ago, as well as over Ohiminteri also continuing over the last 24 hours. So we'll get the latest update from there and get to know. EC is also launching campaign on transparency for elections 2020. And this is coming out of that briefing that the Electoral Commission says it is now going to give the Ghanaian public through the media. And then we have on page 26, close schools now to end spread of COVID-19 on campuses. Dr. Clementa Park, a deputy ranking on the Education Committee of Parliament, put together a press conference or convened that news conference with a press call in Parliament and then raise such fears. Indeed, he's not the only one who has been harboring such fears, but you know, I'm sure officialdom will take a decision that is in the right stead or perspective for everybody, every stakeholder. There's a story on page 24 of the Daily Graphic, and it says Sergeant Awuni has been rewarded for professionalism, and this one is coming from the Malcolm Group, and it's because of his work on the road. He's with the MTTD, that's the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service. Sergeant Andrea Awuni, his name is there, and doing some great work. Charlie, good commendations coming to you as well. So that's where it is. Okay. Let me get to the back page. The back page of the Daily Graphic says the Agric Ministry is introducing rewarding system. Informants get 20% face value of seized items. And we know that many of government-sponsored or funded fertilizers for farmers have been crisscrossing our borders to neighboring countries. So human beings have been blocked from making entry into Ghana with various military personnel deployed across unorthodox or unofficial routes. So we have Togo, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, but we're not able to block the outbound of fertilizers. Very surprising, right? Yeah, I don't know how we do it. Oh, very, yeah. So the human beings carry the fertilizers over, but human beings are not able to cross. I don't know how we do that, yeah. 11 in Kassina Nankana riot sentence. It's also on the back page of the Daily Graphic. I've been joined by Inshira, as earlier on told you. Inshira, good morning to you.
Good morning, Roland. How are you?
Charlie, I'm fine. Charlie, I love the way you're very active this morning. I'm sure some warm water is making you sound very good as well. So you'll be doing the Ghanaian.
Well, you always have to be happy when you rise up in the morning, because it's a new day with new masses, and you just have to bask in that. So that's why I'm happy.
Yeah, great.
So I have 4 papers to bring you. The Ghanaian Times front page says the EC targets 15 million Ghanaian voters for the December 2020 elections. Of course, quite a number of controversies surrounding the compilation of the voter register itself. Also on the same front page, COVID-19. Chief Justice self-isolates for 14 days, and this is after a senior judge had passed away a few days ago, and the government spends over 233 million Ghana cedis on nationwide free water supply. On the front page of the Daily Guide, the story of the CJ is also on there. Top judge dead, CJ isolates, and that's how they capture that story. On the front page of the Business Finder, woes of businesses persist is the banner headline on there. And then over to the Business and Financial Times, banks, fintechs partnership would speed up digitization agenda. Of course, COVID-19 has really pushed us quickly into digitizing quite a number of processes, and they believe that it will go a long way if the banks and fintechs form a stronger partnership. Finally, from the BNFT, IFC, that's International Finance Corporation, which is part of the private sector arm of the World Bank, to provide $5 million plus for funding for Nyaho Medical to expand their operations. And those are the headlines for now.
Well, so let's move on and look at some others that we have as well. I have the Daily Dispatch has on the front page, most women do not vote on gender lines. And I guess this is to put into perspective all the all the good reactions that Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman's nomination as the running mate to John Dramani Mahama is coming with. And we know that this looks like has been received well. That many had thought would not be. And I don't know whether this will be tested. This headline will be tested. Most women do not vote on gender lines. And so we'll see how it goes as far as this is concerned.
Yeah.
And this is a news.
Well, I mean, it's quite interesting that, you know, they say women do not vote along gender lines. Maybe they've not been presented with that opportunity. And who knows that with all the changes that we're seeing around us in the world, this might be the beginning of a new trend. And I personally do not see anything wrong with the gender of the person in a position of influence or authority. The bottom line for me is competence before anything else. If the person can do the work, then why not give them the support and the endorsement and room to be able to do that? You know, of course, we're in the political season, as Barack Obama referred to it as the silly season. So you can expect to hear some very outlandish things, although some of them, in my opinion, could have been better timed and well worded. To make a point. I think that some of it has not been in the greatest of taste. And this is not because it's a woman. I think even if it was said of a man, it's just not right to talk about people in certain terms. You can speak to their abilities, but you cannot say that, you know, you don't think that this person, you know, because they're a woman. I really think that as we go into the backstreet of the campaign towards the elections, the politicians will be circumspect in the way they speak. And I think the Ghanaian voter is evolving to the point where we can tell for ourselves, you know, who we would rather go with instead of have, you know, people throw quite a lot of diatribe. That's definitely not the way to go. And we can't continue doing those things.
Yeah, one thing I know that the Fourth Republic had come to stay, especially after 2000, the political salvos that are thrown by the two main parties towards each other in the electioneering. And I don't know whether it is us in the public space in terms of who have the opportunity to make the commentary and do the analysis, who may have been overestimating the negative impact of the statement that may have been coming from a number of individuals. And this even started with a reaction from the director of communication of the ruling party, that's the MPP, in that press conference. And then we've had a number of comments also followed by the majority leader, and even the general secretary of the ruling MPP as well has been also cited. You could hear him make such comments about whether if Professor Jane Nano Pukwajima was going through Makola or something, whether the category of women who would be waving at her or be reacting to her. And I don't know whether it is us who are overestimating the negative impact or that it is just the normal political process. One thing I want to see is the fact that we've had a lot of young people comprising our population. And these young people also have, if not half or many of them being women or females. And we've had a lot of related gender-sensitive issues that have dominated discussions over the last year or 2 or 3 or 4. And so we have young people who are women who have gravitated towards gender-related matters. And I don't know whether that can influence them, that they have somebody who has gone through the mill, has been very much disciplined, astute in her career, and so has reached the peak of any point in time when it comes to the political space, and so can influence them to vote. It's something I would want to see.
There are a number of factors that determine how people would vote. I mean, first of all, the key messaging is critical, and also how the party itself is able to position the candidate and have her in the right places, be seen and heard in the right places, saying the right things. The opponents are also going to find a way to discredit the candidate, and that's what politicking is all about. So, but for me, my key concern is the tone of voice in which all of these things are done. I think that we've seen economies that evolve or have evolved and done well are not economies where people just, talk just because they have to talk. I mean, you speak when you have something to say, and you can articulate your point, which may discredit a person without you, diving into the gutter. And I think that's something we ought to look for. Now, the other story that I thought we could look at is the Ghanaian Times front page story about the EC's target of 15 million voters. Let me just ask, how many people do you know who have actually gone out to register where you live?
I'm not sure I've been able to monitor that. The only figure I have in mind is what the EC has told us over the last day or two, that 2.2 million people had voted in the first 6 or 7 days of the exercise. Myself, in my household, I know that nobody has gone out, and it's only my partner or my wife and I who are the 2 adults who are eligible to go and register. And none of us have gone out yet. Yes.
Okay. Well, I haven't done that too. I'm hoping that I can do that over the weekend. But of course, with the numbers of the positive cases rising, I'm sure there are quite a number of concerns. The question, though, would be whether this would have a negative impact on the numbers at the end of the day, and in relation to the target of 15 million. Quite a number of questions have also been asked. I mean, if the same paper talks about the CJ going into 14-day self-isolation. That story also ties into the Ministry of Finance asking staff to work from home. And I think Gridco also has recorded a case. Now, the refrain and the question that you're hearing now is, why are we still going on with this exercise where lots of people gather in places and register when offices like Gridco and the Ministry of Finance are asking people to actually stay at home? We're at the crossroads as a nation, in my opinion. I think that there's a lot of questions being asked about how we've managed the COVID-19 on this front in the country. We started out and seem to be doing well. The scientists will say that the more you test, the more you're going to find that people have the cases. But the spike, the space in which we climbed we had about 4,500 cases in a period of 10 days. That's a massive jump. The last jump of 992 cases in one day is very scary, is very disconcerting. The question will then be, are we going to be safe going out? Will we feel safe? What assurances do Ghanaians need to have to know that they can go out and register to vote and be safe? And beyond that, all the other activities that we are, embarking on, when we go out to work, when we go out to trade, and we go to the market, we need to move to earn. We need to move for the economy to also grow. So it's a bit of a conundrum, and I feel sorry for the guys at the helm of affairs because on one hand, it's very difficult to please everyone. Unfortunately, you might have some opposition to some of what you're doing, whether it's constructive criticism and a critique of what's being done, an appraisal of the policies and strategy, or whether it's opposition for opposition's sake. But over the next few weeks, we'll see exactly where we stand.
I think I have to gravitate towards the Electoral Commission. I think this process has started where in the ninth day, because it started on Tuesday of the last week. We've had 2 more days in addition, and that makes it the 9th day today. And I want this sort of support that is needed for the Electoral Commission to conduct this exercise in a manner that would also ensure all of us adhere to the protocols. We have to be right in our thoughts. The reason why we're having the numbers jump is not because the Electoral Commission is conducting the exercise. The reason why we're having the numbers jump is because we as a people who are supposed to go and do the registration and do other related actions in our lives daily are not adhering to the protocols. And these are the main reasons why we have the Cocoa Board, the BOST, you can name them, a number of all the organizations, even us, saying people should stay home because either they've tested or have been traced or contacted, etc. And it is the onus of all of us to ensure that the social distancing is maintained and the other protocols are also observed. But the foremost responsibility should be with the Electoral Commission. What I have observed, though, is that it looks like the Electoral Commission seems to be passing the buck all the time to say this is an exercise that everybody's cooperation is needed. But you have the foremost responsibility, one, to have done education and make sure that after that education, when the practicality of the exercise is being undertaken, you are enforcing the rules. And it is the non-enforcement of the rules that is creating the difficulties, giving us the second thought, being indecisive whether we're doing right as far as this exercise is concerned.
That's a very fair point. I just would like to do this very last story. I think this has to do with the call for banks and fintechs to partner to speed up the rate of digitization of our economy. Now, it's a critical part. And I think one of the things that I would like to point is the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement System, GIPS, and a partnership they've just done with GOIL a few days ago, where you can drive to a petrol station, buy petrol, and use your GH Link enabled card to be able to pay without having any human interaction. You can imagine being able to now stop at a petrol station in the middle of the night if you're traveling to fill up and continue. If we can see a lot more digital payments being created right here in Ghana, I think one of the things we overlook is that every transaction you do with any of the internationally recognized and accepted payment platforms, there's money that goes out of this country. There's money that goes to all these platforms that facilitate these payments. I think one other way is that we can deepen our own local or indigenous fintech industry, but more importantly, keep some money in this economy. In times like this, every peso counts. And if we can find ways to really deepen digitization and even, digital transactions within the country, but on local platforms, I can foresee that being a very good thing for the economy. And also creating jobs, because quite a number of young startups, young people in startups who are doing work in fintech have some really brilliant ideas. And if we can get them all working towards making their own contributions towards ease of trade, ease of transaction, all of these things, it will go a long way to help the economy.
Well, I do agree with you. We all do know that getting everybody to participate in this revolution that we all have adopted and are seeing around as far as financial technology is concerned is to make sure everybody is hooked onto one database. And it's where I think that as a state and as a people and as a government, we failed. Because the National Identification Authority was supposed to have been the foremost authority or institution that would have created that database for us. It's been how many? From 2017, they promised us so many timelines, and they just haven't been able to.
No, you need to go. You need to go further back. You need to go back to I think 2007.
True.
The last term of President Kufuor. That's when this idea started. It's quite disturbing that 12 years down the line, we have not even done a full version, and we've sort of had to start the process all over again. I think we come up with great ideas, but our process and our execution has always left us, wanting. Because if we can get that right, okay, if we can get that right, it helps a lot of things. You look at the National Identification Database as a whole of a set, okay? If you want to take some details out of that for banking transactions, opening of a bank account and all of those things, social security, your passport, driver's license, that becomes the base database where everybody can go to and draw information. You understand? It seems that today, DVLA has procured their own biometrics, and you have to go and do that over there. You go to the passport office, they have their own biometrics and they have their own database. SNIT has its own. One day you might even end up having to go to the library and you would have to use biometrics. But the bottom line is this, that if we made one expenditure or procurement expenditure to get the act right from the beginning, we would have served all other entities that needed to get data verified from the National Identification Authority. Imagine your bank's terminal being able to access specific data that's relevant to their work at the click of a button, and they pay a subscription fee to the National Identification Authority. There are several organizations today that need to verify your information. All of these data, all the data can be made available to them based on the requirements that they have, and also within the remit and framework of the law that governs data management in this country. And you would see that we would move faster. But I think the procurement mentality is one thing that's not helped us. We come up with great ideas, and then you end up having to redo the same thing again. I don't know how long we're going to take to make sure that this time around we get it right. And if we do, it will change the way we do a lot of things. It will speed up the way things are checked. It will speed up the way, the speed of trust helps economies grow. And I'm not saying that there won't be people out there who might want to exploit the system, but the speed of trust in terms of when you go to a place that they can verify quickly that you are who you say you are, it means that things are done quicker, and the speed with which things are done has an impact on the economy itself.
Yeah. And I think that's where we need to speed things up. The most disappointing aspect of all this is that apart from us not meeting the timelines from 2017, we had a period when we should have done that. For example, from 2009 to 2016, nothing was done comprehensively because the government commitment at the time was poor towards this database that we needed to have put together. Look, if we
Can you imagine how many ghost names would be weeded out of our system if we had that working?
Exactly. And it keeps me wondering who is benefiting from all this when these timelines and and we have all this lagging behind. Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. But Inshira, thank you for the update for this morning. What are you up to for the rest of the day, Inshira?
I am jumping on a call now to do my Talking Business segment on Joy Prime Morning. And then I'll be filming Business Connect, which is my new show coming up on on Joy Prime.
Charlie, businessman for the day. I wish you all the best.
All right, Roland, take care. Have a good day.
Yeah, to Inshira. And that's Inshira out there. But look, let's look at what is latest on our main portal, the best portal for the most aggregated news content in Ghana right now. MyJoyOnline.com has a lead story: suspected fraudster who allegedly infiltrated police in Kumasi arrested. It's smart. Yeah. This is the watered down version of Hush Puppy. Couldn't do it like Hush Puppy. Tried just small time, no, they catch him. No try, cry. Hush Puppy at least enjoy the riches before he was caught. This one, low class Sakawa boy. Okay, so this is where it gets serious for all of us, because we know we're in dire straits. And the latest case count, 854 new infection, sending Ghana's COVID-19 tally to 22,822 with 17,664 recoveries. In that interaction with Dr. Bernard Okuboy, who is Deputy Health Minister, one thing we did take out was that the national COVID team and the health management system we've had has been able to put into perspective or lower the mortalities or the deaths. And that is the good thing that we can take out of this. But it doesn't mean we have to take things for granted. The more we have the infections, it also means the health system could be overwhelmed. And that's just a possibility. But that's not what we're seeing now. The health institutions are worried that they are getting many of their personnel infected. 90% of one village, one dams cannot be used for irrigation purposes, according to a research that was conducted by the Peasant Farmers Association. And then we have workers of Ghana Airport Company demonstrating against alleged privatization plans, even though the bosses of the airport company and the Ministry of Aviation are saying that, look, you guys chill. That's not really the situation. But outsourcing is now the order of the day for many perspectives. It ensures proper management and utilization and return on investment for many facilities, ventures, and businesses. So I know the workers may be worried about their jobs, etc., but, you know, outsourcing is very good in many perspectives. Ghana will go ahead with WASSCE examinations despite Nigeria's pullout. Ghana Education Service, Chief Justice Kwesi Enini Yabwa in 14-day isolation over COVID-19 fears. Yeah, because down there, a Court of Appeal judge, very astute and then very learned and experienced, Justice Paul Jasiayo, has died. Jasiayo, oh, wow. Yeah. A man I've known over the years as well. I've seen him in the courts over the period. May so rest in peace. But we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you the latest sports headlines.